Hi everyone and welcome to the Back to Blighty podcast. My name is Becky and I'm joining you from the south coast of England where I live with my partner, our son when he's home from university and our Springer Spaniel called Molly. So welcome if you're a new viewer and welcome if you're a returning viewer. It is lovely to have you with me today. The weather here in Blighty is pretty hit and miss, but October is here and autumn is here and it is so lovely to have the change in the season so that we can wear all the knitwear. This is where I talk about all things yarn and fibre related, talking about what I've been working on, some adoptions that I might have had and maybe things that I'm planning in the future. So yeah, I am wearing a ranunculus sweater and this ranunculus I made a few years ago now and I've over dyed it twice. So it was a Biff Sugar yarn skein. I can't even remember what it was called, it was so long ago. And it was kind of quite speckly, but it faded quite a bit. So I over dyed it like a sky blue and I just didn't wear it because it wasn't kind of the colour tone that I would normally wear. And now I have over dyed it in this kind of like, I don't know, almost like an Air Force blue and I love it and I wear it an awful lot. So I've made quite a few ranunculus sweaters and yeah, they've always been kind of a staple in my wardrobe. So I'm sure you've done the pattern or you're going to do the pattern or you've heard of the pattern anyway. So yeah, I've got this on today. So I have got a finished object, an almost finished object. I've got some whips, obviously we all have whips, and I've got some plans. So I'm gonna get straight in with my finished object. Just have a little slurp of my tea. Sorry if you can hear a bit of creaking, it is the old rocking chair which I've spoken to you about before. So yeah, so just bear with. I finished my Strange Brew cardigan and I absolutely love it. Now this was made using some hand spun that I dyed from Spin Jones in Muddle, which was a gradient, which is this bit here. And I did a little bit of that detailing around the sleeves and also on the bottom of the cardigan here. So I used Jameson Smith Shetland Heather and it was the first time that I'd steeked a sweater. So I learned a lot from this and there's a couple of things that I would change if I was going to do it again, but let me talk you through. So yeah, I steeked it. And I used some buttons that I got from the Textile Garden, which go really nicely. And then to tidy up the inside a little bit, I went ahead and put some ribbon inside. And it was really difficult to get something that kind of matched the cardigan, but in the end, it's not quite as near a match as I would like it, but this is kind of what it looks like on the inside. And it's quite bulky. Partly because it's an Aran weight yarn, so obviously the steeks are quite chunky, but I am quite pleased with how it worked out. So it neatens up that inside edge a great deal. Things I would change about it, not the steeking, I think that went really well, but I'm not very happy really with the top of my button band, and I'll show you. I'll do up the buttons again so that you can see it properly. But yeah, you can see at on the front is this edge. I'm not too happy with that, and that is purely my picking up. It doesn't look very neat, but to be honest, it's the sort of cardigan that is so thick and chunky that I kind of wear it a bit like a jacket. So I either have a big scarf or I'll wear it open. So I shall pop some pictures in here so you can have a little look about what it looks like. It's in its entirety, but yeah, really pleased with it. I absolutely love the gradient. I'm very, very happy with that. So yeah, finished object, go me. Really, really pleased with that. It was from the Strange Brew book by Tin Can Knits, and yeah, I just chose a few of the little colourwork patterns and just popped them in there. So very, very pleased with that. Okay, so my almost finished object, and I say almost because literally all I have to do is now weave in the ends. It's all blocked. I hadn't even started this in my last podcast. So I bought some yarn. I bought what was it? Drops Lima in Sea Green and Drops Kid Silk Haze in North Sea to make the Magnolia Chunky cardigan. And this is what it's looking like. It's blowing out a little bit. It's much sort of deeper than that. So it's got this lovely detail on the cuffs. You can see the floof of the kid silk in there, which is so lovely. And then around the bottom, it's got this beautiful design. And I really enjoyed working this cardigan. It was really quick to knit. And I'm going to enjoy wearing this a great deal. So yeah, you can't see very much, but I will take some photos when I have finished the cardigan. But you get the idea. It is so lovely and so drapey. So I have just got to weave in the ends, sew on the buttons, and the buttons that I have are also from the Textile Garden because I got them at the same time, and they're this lovely tealy green buttons which work perfectly. I know I'm going to drop this button but I'm going to try anyway, so you can kind of see how well that goes on there. So yeah, almost finished. So literally just got to weave in the ends. I kind of procrastinate a little bit about weaving in ends for some reason. Like when the knitting's done, I just want to start the next thing, and yeah, weaving in and sewing on buttons isn't my favourite thing in the world to do. But anyway, loving it. I'm loving the floof. Oh, it's just so lovely. One thing I would say is that there's a twisted rib at the bottom here, as you can see. And obviously when you work a twisted rib in the round, you just twist the knit stitch, so you knit into the back of the knit stitch. But obviously because this is a cardigan and it's worked back and forth, when you come to the bottom edge, it's like knit into the back of the knit stitch on one side, and then on the other side it's knit into the back of the purl stitch. So it takes a little bit longer, but it does give a lovely, lovely twisted rib. And also this bind off, which I hadn't used before. So I really liked that. This is a pattern by Camilla Vad, if I haven't said that already, and it's available on Ravelry. So yeah, very pleased with that. Looking forward to getting it on, and then I'll take some pictures and I'll upload them to Instagram. I didn't say that, did I? I'm not a very good podcaster. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook. I don't really go onto Facebook very much. I'm not a big Facebook person, but Instagram I'm on quite regularly. And I also have a shop called Back to Blighty on Etsy where I sell some hand-dyed yarn, and there will be some hand-dyed yarn coming very soon. So yeah, hop on over there, and yeah, you can keep updated with everything that's going on. Okay, so the next things are whips, but I haven't actually shown them before because I've only just started them in the last few weeks. One of them is my Yule sweater by Susan Crawford, and that was the Colourwork sweater that I showed you in my last podcast. I haven't done any more on that, but I am going to get it out soon because it's kind of that time of year where colourwork just seems to, be the thing that everyone wants to do. I think it does remind me of this time of year when you've got kind of lots of colourwork projects on the go. So yeah, hop on over to the last podcast if you want to have a look. So I'm not going to show you that. And the other thing that I've got on the needles, I've got quite a few things actually, quite a few whips. Yeah, is my crystal shawl, and I have done some of that, but I'm not going to show you until it's almost done because it's just the same thing. So yeah, hop back to the last episode if you want to see what that's about. Okay, so some new to me yarn. I had a little adoption. I call them adoptions now instead of acquisitions. Is this lovely sock yarn from Garthenor. And it's a new to me store. It smells amazing. And this is their Snowdonia sock, which is here. And this is in their Toman colourway. And what I really liked about it is you get this card, and inside it tells you where your yarn grew. Look at that. How cool is that? And also, every time you buy a skein of yarn, they plant a tree. Which I just think is such a lovely thing to do. So I really recommend go and check out Garthenor if you like a natural yarn. So this yarn is 75% Romney and 25% Hebridean. And I am just knitting a pair of Hermione's Everyday Socks, which is a free pattern by Erica Luda, I think it is. So yeah, just knitting a basic sock. Because for me, socks are more of a practical thing. I don't spend time doing a lot of different intricate patterns on socks because they're just on your feet, and I'd rather put that effort into a garment. But this is, oh, let me move that out of the way. This is what it's turning out like, and it's a gorgeous, gorgeous yarn. I really, really love it. So I've just done a twisted rib, my normal 64 stitches, and I'm just working down. But yeah, really love the yarn, and it blooms as you work with it and really softens. It's not scratchy at all. And out of all my socks, I probably wear the socks that are 100% wool content rather than nylon than any other socks. So yeah, really like them, and they're really warm and also lightweight. So yeah, got those on the needles. I'm just going to tinker away at those because they're kind of my car knitting. So when I'm working, it's half term, got a week off. But when I am working, I'm kind of in between schools quite a lot of the time. So it's good to have this kind of sitting in my, in the car. And then if I'm 10 minutes early for a meeting or something, then I'll just do a few rows, listen to the radio and all that. So in my fisherman's bag, and this lovely pin that the lovely Ali gave me from Little Drops Wonderful. So yeah, love that badge. Thanks, Ali. Right. What's next? I feel like I'm talking really fast, and I keep thinking my tea's there and my tea's there. So that's why I keep going over that way. Okay, another thing that I hadn't cast on, hadn't got the yarn, and haven't shown you before is this project, and I'm loving it. Okay, so this is the Braids of Grass sweater, and it's by Albiona McLaughlin, and she is the designer of the crystal shawl as well. And I really like the way she writes her patterns. They're really simple, but there's a lot of interest going on. I am using Let Lopi in this lovely kind of very white grey. This is shade 54. But yeah, and it's 100% Icelandic wool. So yeah, love it. And it's very light, but it's got quite a lot of fuzz on it. And I think it's going to be beautiful. I'm loving it already. So this is as far as I've got. I cast this on literally yesterday, and it's knitting up really, really quickly. So this is as far as I've got. So it's got this beautiful cabling that goes all the way down the yoke, and this lovely kind of funnel neck with this ripple, which is really pretty. So yeah, really enjoying this project. Oh, when I started it, the actual first few rows was quite tricky because it's cabling and it's quite tight and thick needles, and yeah, it was kind of quite heavy on my hands. But now I've got a bit of length on it, I'm kind of zipping along, as you can see. So it's just going to be absolutely gorgeous. Loving it. Really, really loving the fabric. I have to say that Let Lopi and Pluto Lopi I really love. I don't find them itchy at all. I mean, it's a little bit scratchy when you first put it on your skin, but then it kind of goes. And again, like the Pluto Lopi, it's the sort of yarn where if you put it over your hand just for a moment, you can feel the heat where it traps in all that air. So yeah, really, really loving this project so far, and something a little bit different as well. So yeah, enjoying that project. I bought the yarn from Northern Yarns. It's really affordable actually, that yarn. You need quite a lot because you only get small balls. I don't know what the weight of the balls are. Let's have a look. 50 grams. So you get 100 meters in 50 grams. My gauge is slightly off. Not in the row gauge, but in the stitch gauge. but I want it to be a little bit oversized anyway, and I'm about to stitch out, so I kind of thought I liked the fabric with the needles I had. I could have gone down and done the first size, but as I said, I wanted it oversized, so I've gone with the second size, which I think works out about a 38-inch bust. And I kind of think, actually, if I get another 1.5 inches, that's fine. I'm probably going to crop it a little bit as well, because that's my general preference. But yeah, that's that project. Okay, let's go for a big project, shall we? Now, my lovely friend Julia, who is the face behind the Happy Knitting podcast, is an enabler. So she messaged me and sort of said, are you doing the Shawlography MKAL? And I said no. I partly did a Stephen West pattern before. I was going to do the Chrysler shawl, and I just got a bit fed up with it because it was kind of very samey, very big, and yeah, just lost it really on that. So I ripped it all out. Anyway, I thought to myself, well, maybe I will. And this was like a couple of days before it was about to start. And so I delved in my stash and thought, yeah, okay, let's do a mystery knit along. Never done one before. Stephen's designs are pretty out there, but I thought, I've got some stash yarn, just go for it. And I thought, if nothing else, I will learn a great deal out of doing this knit along. And I have learned loads. So if you are knitting the Shawlography, I suggest that you skip ahead a little bit. I will put a timestamp here of when to come in next. But yeah, I am knitting the Shawlography, and I am using, as I said, stash yarn. So first of all, I am using the yarn that I bought for the Chrysler, and this is Harvest Hues in the Woad colourway. Oh, bit of a yarn bath there, excuse that. So this is Woad, this is John Arbon Textiles Harvest Hues, and it's really beautiful yarn. I can actually tell you what the content is because the label's here. It is 65% Falklands Merino and 35% Devon's Wartballs. And here's the tag here. So I had loads of this, so I thought, well, that's a good starting point. I'll put that in it. Then I had another look in my stash, and I had some of this yarn left over. This is Whistle Bear, and it's springtide, and I made my Novelli tee out of it. Now, I haven't got a lot left, but I'm willing to rip back that Novelli because although I love the design at the bottom of my Novelli, the neckline kind of chokes me and I don't really like it very much. And I don't like the look of it very much. So I might, if I run out, I'm going to rip back a bit of that. I've got this yarn, which is from Biff Sugar. And a while ago, I bought this and I thought I'll make some socks, and I started knitting the socks and the colours kind of muddied. I didn't like it, so it sat in my stash for ages, and I'm using it now, and it's amazing in this project. So it just goes to show that if you get a hand-dyed yarn that actually doesn't work for one project, you can put it in another one and it can look completely different. Then I've got these two yarns, which are from the Border Mill. Getting a bit of a tangle now. I can't remember the colours, but these are the leftovers from what I made my Chauncey sweater out of. So this blue and this natural colour. And also throwing in a little bit of Suri alpaca. I don't know where the little ball is. Oh, but I've got half the skein. I only wound half the skein because I knew I wouldn't use very much. This is some that I hand dyed quite some time ago, and I'm using that as well. So altogether, oh, hold on, just dropped one. So altogether, oh, I don't know if I can hold them all. We have this combo. Okay, so let's get the shawl out. So I have now finished Clue 3, which came out on Friday, and I'm loving it so much. So this is where we are. So let me talk you through. So the first bit is this excuse the ends, is this tab cast on, and then it's got these wedges. And in between all these wedges are all the different colours that you've incorporated. And I really love the way that things like this blue, which is the border mill yarn, looks more grey against that teal of the Harvest Hues. So that was the first bit. And then there's this slip stitch detail coming down to these lovely little loops, which Martin on the Knit 365 podcast, who's also the Welsh tenor, calls them yarn shrimp. So now I'm copying him shamelessly. And yeah, so that's there's those lovely loops there, which I really like, going into this slip stitch stripiness. And then these welts, look at those welts, loving those. Oh, these welts here, which are beautiful and so much fun to do. And it goes into these triangles and some bubbles. And you can see on the bubbles, I threw in the mohair, or the Suri alpaca, should I say. So there's the bubbles. And then it was the wedge section. So all of that bit that I just showed you is done in a crescent shape. And then you have these wedges. It's getting a bit difficult now because obviously my needle is getting shorter. It's not getting shorter, it's the same length. But yeah, running out of room. So then you have to pop on these wedges. And this is where I made a boo-boo. So I'm going to point out my boo-boo. So I was happily knitting on these and then realised that the first row I didn't do in the right order. Can you see all of these ones have like the white going through, which I really like, but this one I didn't. Was I going to go back? No, not after all that. So I thought, as long as I duplicate it on the other side, who's going to know? No one's going to know. So I carried on. And again, this I-cord border is all the way down the shawl and it looks so lovely. Excuse my ends. I have done some weave and Stephen, but you know, some of them I haven't. So, and this border goes all the way along the side of the shawl. Then there's some eyelets, and then I went for the brioche option. There are two options. One is like a mesh option and then the brioche. So I decided that I would go with the brioche option, which is here. So lovely squishy brioche, and of course it's reversible. So I've done my squishy brioche version, and then at the end there are these crisscross. I always think of the song Crisscross. Do you remember that? Everybody clap your hands. Yeah. And then there's this crisscross element at the bottom, and I absolutely loved doing these. And in the Biff Sugar yarn, you can see all the little colour pops going on. Look at that. So yeah, done clue 3. I'm a little bit worried because clue 3 wasn't a lot of knitting. Clue 2 was a lot of knitting. Clue 3, not a lot. And I know in the past that Stephen has thrown in an extra clue. So who knows what's going to happen. So yeah, but I am really, really loving this project. I have learnt so much from doing this. I wear a lot of blue. I've got a blue wool jacket that I wear a lot. So yeah, oh, gorgeousness. It's going to be massive. Look at that. But really loving it. Really, really loving it. Yeah, going to bring some more mohair in hopefully at some point, because those bobbles are just, oh, love them. So yeah, so are you doing shawlography? You know, I mean, there's so many. I love following the hashtag because you can see so many, and I have so enjoyed it. And what I've enjoyed about it is the fact that every section is really different and it's like a new challenge, and it really keeps you motivated, and I really, really have been enjoying that. So yeah, it's coming on really well. Just loving it. And I'm using stash yarn. Win-win. So yeah, so that's going really, really well at the moment. Okay, I think that is all of my whips. The ones I'm going to show you anyway. So what else have I got to tell you? Okay, adoptions. There has been an adoption, but I'm waiting for them to arrive. My new little yarn babies. I have ordered some yarn from Laxton's in their sheep soft 4-ply, and I've got 4 colours coming because I am now on a bit of a Stephen West drive, and I have taken advantage of his happy birthday 33% off token, and I have bought Slipstravaganza. I think it's Slipstravaganza. It's a tongue twister. So I have bought some yarn to do that. I'm doing it in like a neutral brown and some kind of pinks and blues and greens and things. So yeah, really looking forward to that. So after I have finished this Stephen West shawl, I think I am going to be casting on another Stephen West shawl, just because I really love that challenge of doing something different. And yeah, I've learned, as I said, I've learned so much. The other thing I would say is that if you are a beginner knitter and you're tempted, but it looks really kind of overwhelming, give it a go, because with the videos, Stephen walks you through every single bit of it. You can always put in a lifeline. It's really not difficult. So yeah, do give it a go if you fancy it. Okay, so anyway, got Slipstravaganza. That's in my head now. I know I've still got the, was it railway track shawl to do? You know, it'll get done at some point. Otherwise, what's been going on? Well, work's been manic, really, really busy. So got a lot of new referrals for young people for social, emotional, mental health. So that's kept me really busy. But it's half term and I'm having a very quiet half term. I'm going to do some spinning because I haven't done any more spinning, and I'm a bit worried because of the bobbin incident, which you will have seen on the last episode. But I really want to finish off that spin and get a new spin going. I'm going to go and see my dad tomorrow. We're going to go out, do a bit of shopping, which will be really nice. So that's kind of it from me. I hope you are keeping well wherever you are, and drop me a comment. If I don't respond straight away, it's just because, you know, work is busy and I don't check on YouTube very often, but I do appreciate and enjoy reading all your comments. So leave a comment, tell me what you're working on. Have you tried any other Stephen West patterns? I'd be really interested to know. Anyway, that's enough wittering from me. I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.